producer, and my wife, and my brother Brock, who composed the music, and Nancy Schaefer, our executive producer. And Rob Nelson and Winter Big Shoes.
We will open this up to a Q&A now. If you have any questions for Chapman and McLean or any of these folks up here, raise your hand. I will call on you. Try to speak as loudly as possible. It's a big room. And I will repeat the question for everybody. This gentleman right here.
Who was the other left-handed catcher?
The question was, who's the other left-handed catcher?
Do you know?
Yeah, there was, I know that there's actually probably two left-handed catchers that signed professional contracts. And we were actually just
wanting that, though.
That's why we decided to keep it in, because even though it's not factually accurate that Swanson is the first left-handed catcher to ever sign a professional contract, it's kind of reflective on who he is. So we decided to leave it in and throw it in the corrections.
We didn't want to break the bad news to him. So.
Anyone else got to say down here?
You have such wonderful footage. I was wondering how long the research for it all took you.
Absolutely, it was the whole project itself took 3 years, and our research was about 9 to 10 months. Matt did a lot of the archival research on the story, and we kind of went up to Portland and knocked on a lot of doors and begged for footage. And most news stations aren't thrilled about giving their footage away, and we got incredibly lucky that a lot of those people in those television stations remembered the Mavericks very fondly, and we're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bean himself kept everything, so that made half of it very easy. But the other half was difficult. But yeah, like Shep said, we went up to Portland and we pounded on news stations' doors and we told them what we were doing, and we kind of invited ourselves in. And then we got down into their basements and their archives and pulled all their footage, and this was kind of the end product. So I guess it kind of ended up working out.
Yeah, the gentleman with the baseball cap.
In those days of the Mavericks, I was the voice of the Walla Walla Padres on radio, and I'll tell you, when Kurt came to town, because he'd made some Walt Disney movies at that time, the place was packed. But after watching the Mavericks, it was packed because the Mavericks were there. Yeah. And I can tell you, as a testament to Bing, some of those towns that were in the Northwest League then now have independent teams. Walla Walla, for example, has an independent baseball team.
Absolutely. My favorite personal baseball story. I've been doing interviews today, so I've told it a couple times. But my favorite baseball story is when I was 10 years old, when I was playing Little League, and my grandfather Bing had bought me a brand new first baseman's mitt. And he was sitting on the sidelines, and I forgot my first baseman's mitt at home that he had just bought me. And I could hear him in my ear kind of, "Chap, where's your first baseman's mitt? Where's your first baseman's mitt?" And I was trying to block him out and just trying to focus on the game. And as the game went on, it was kind of getting worse and worse. He was really riding me pretty well. And about in the 5th inning, I was playing first base, the ball was thrown to me, and I scooped it up and I dropped it. I dropped the ball. And Bing just went bananas on me because I left my first baseman at home. And the umpire came over and threw him out of the game. It was a huge, big thing. I was like, I don't know how many grandfathers get thrown out of their 10-year-olds. For me, it was just another day at the ballpark with my grandpa. So.
Absolutely. Pretty similar story. Another one of being at our Little League baseball games. But this one was actually mine. It was our eldest cousin, who's Matt Franco, Maverick ball boy. And Matt played 20 years of pro ball and 8 for the Mets, 8 years for the Mets and Braves. And there's a really funny story that he told me about, there was a bad call in one of his baseball games. This was when Matt was like 9 years old. And Bing went absolutely crazy because it was a bad baseball call. And was going nuts at the umpire. And one of Matt's friends, one of Matt's baseball players, looked at Matt and said, "God, who is that asshole?" And Matt said, "I don't know." and I think that really does kind of speak to Bing, is that he was incredibly passionate and he really wanted the best for you, but he was an unbelievable influence in our lives. Like I said earlier, we lived very close to him. And I think he believed in you in the point to where you just always believed in yourself. And I think that there was just a huge influence that he had in our lives.
You guys mentioned once, you mentioned now that Bing was your grandfather. When did you start learning about your grandfather, that he did this, and how did you guys end up making this movie?
Yeah, Sure. So basically, growing up, we always knew that he owned a professional baseball team, and that was pretty much it. My grandfather owned a professional baseball team, and that was cool. I thought that was awesome. And it wasn't until 3 years ago that I came across the photo, and we started researching. And it was when we found out that was America's only independent baseball team. That kind of got our brains going. Well, what does that mean to be an independent baseball team, and how is that different than organized baseball? And what are the inherent challenges, and what are the risks involved in doing something on your own and doing that? And so I think that's really where we thought, wow, this could be a really interesting story that a lot of people can relate to, not just sports fans, hopefully.
We picked this movie having no idea they were his grandsons. Yeah, all the way in the back there.
Just like to know what Kurt's favorite time at the Mavs was.
The question was for Kurt, what was your favorite time with the Mavs?
I'll answer that, but for me, this is a pretty interesting night. My dad died 12 years ago, and that's the first time I've seen him talk since then. He's just a great man. And my favorite moment with the Mavs was the night my dad and I decided to make it happen. We sat down and talked about it. I was playing double-A ball in Texas for the Angels at that time. And I didn't play for the Mavs very much. I don't know how you found that footage. I'd hurt my arm, so I got my release from the Angels so I could be a designated hitter and just work my way back to the Angels the next year, which didn't happen. But I was done. My arm was finished. It was a blessing in disguise. But I guess that would be it for me. It was the night that he and I decided that we got on the phone and said, you know what? He said, I want to bring independent baseball back. Well, you're crazy, but let's do it.
What do you do next? Do you stay with baseball, or do you part with baseball?
For the filmmakers?
Who's your question for?
Either one of them.
Oh, the filmmakers. What do you guys do?
So I think we're very interested in going on making documentary films. If there is another great sports story, we're definitely down for it, but we're open. We have a couple ideas that we'd like to do next, and so we'll probably move away from baseball. It's 3 years of editing baseball. I feel like I could take a little break, but who knows? We're open to anything.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had an interest in documentary films for some while. We were inspired by some of the, in my opinion, some of the great filmmakers around, Errol Morris and James Marsh, and kind of documentaries that not necessarily document, but just tell our society's most engaging nonfiction stories. And I'm really inspired by the documentaries that I watch, and I know Chap is too. So I think that this is a great time for documentary film. I think that it's healthy, it's a healthy genre, and we're excited to continue making them.
I agree with that sentiment. The lady right there.
It was amazing baseball recognized Big Russell as being part of baseball, part of like the Hall of Fame, or did they ignore him, or?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what this. I don't know if everybody heard that. Major League Baseball recognized Bing as being part of baseball, or like the Hall of Fame or whatever. So.
They didn't like him, but he's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame on the 3rd floor, which is above the museum, because he won the 1974 Executive of the Year. And a nice tie-in is that Lefty Gomez is on the 1st floor. So Bing and Lefty are pretty close together. Lefty, of course, on the 1st floor. Bing's up on the 3rd.
There's a gentleman back here, yeah.
What happened to baseball after the Mavericks left?
So it's interesting, after the Mavericks left, the Beavers came back, which was our longtime affiliate, and I think the stat is in the 1978 season, the Beavers had twice as many home games, and they drew half as many fans as the Mavericks did the year before. And for the next 5 years, they had a new owner every single season for the next 5 years, and eventually the Portland Beavers left again. And I think Portland is now without a minor league team as of now. So.
Should this gentleman right here.
Aside from Bowden, were there other members of the Mavericks who went on to play for other teams?
There are
Other-
Chap,
why don't you repeat that question?
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 guys, but we always say that the most successful Mavericks to ever make it back was our cousin, the ball boy, Matt Franco, who played 8 seasons in professional ball and had a long career there.
There were guys that went up AA and AAA too, so there were quite a few of them that got another chance at professional baseball because of the Mavericks.
Here at the stage. Did you all hear that back there? She's asking Kurt. Okay.
It's interesting. Baseball, when you play baseball, seriously, you need to pace yourself. You need to work in the off season and start the season, and you need to pace yourself through the year because it's a tough psychological game to play night after night at a high level and deal with the failure that you know, if you do your job. If you do your job well enough while fame, as a hitter, you fail 7 out of 10 times. So you deal with a lot of failure. I suppose as an actor, that's probably something that's valuable to you because of the amount of rejection you receive, sometimes even after you get the job.
So we have time for like 2 more questions. So anybody? Sure, right here. Does anyone we can buy Portland Maverick hats?
Right there.
The team trainer right
Just
here.
stand up, Doc. I gotta say, that uniform looks like the same exact color, so you've been taking care of that uniform, I can tell.
We don't have it right now, but
I just want to say how proud I am of these 2 guys to do that.
Okay, final question. Who wants it? All right, the lady in the back there. Yes. Oh.
She got shy, but I'll ask her.
Okay.
We're from Portland, so thank you for making such a funny, touching movie that involves our team. We really just want to know where the bar is.
Oh, wow. Okay. They're from Portland. They think these guys are making a funny, touching movie, but they really want to know where the bar is.
Frank's talking about Frank's bar. Yeah, Frank is called the Grand Cafe, and it's just kind of right across the Willamette River from downtown. And he's still there.